Kirsten here from Motherhood Training, and I'm here with the lovely Charis. Uh, what?
Mhm.
Charis did coaching with me one-on-one, and she is here to share her story, her journey, her story. And I love it when women can share their stories because it always feels a little bit vulnerable when you share your story, but it's always inspiring to someone else who's listening to it. So thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, yet to be determined. So
Mhm.
let's start off with who is Charisse?
Charis is a 44, almost 45-year-old woman, mother of two, child and youth counselor. I am rooted quite strongly in my faith. Um, I am, yeah, mother, sister, wife, friend. Um, yeah, I love volleyball. I'm very competitive. I'm very sarcastic. I'm also very emotional. Um, and
He loves to
yeah,
garden.
there's lots. Pardon?
Love to garden.
I love to garden, and I'm so excited that gardening season is coming up. I'm pumped about that. And I am, yeah, I'm a bit of a introvert. I'm learning more and more about myself. And so, yeah, that's who I is.
Good. And you like,
I always actually, I heard I saw like a reel that said, like, if you ask different people who I am, they're all going to tell you different versions based on the version they get. And I feel like that is very true for me, but not true for me. I feel like people, if you say Charisse, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, we know Charisse. But at the same time, I think I also surprise different people too.
yeah, I
So
love
yeah,
that. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let's start with you. You and I have known each other for a very long
Oh my Lord.
very long time. And actually, we had a friend giving the one year, and I think it was friend giving. And then all
Yep.
of a sudden, I started getting asked all these questions. And
Yeah.
usually, when we are together as friends, I never talk about kind of this world of coaching that I do. I keep it kind of separate. And here you were asking me questions, and I was like, where is this coming from? But I thought, oh, I'll
Yeah.
be revealed in due time for Charisse, and it was. And then all of a sudden, I got a message, let's talk about coaching. So I like starting off with understanding where you were at, the point where you were like, I need help.
Yeah. So I think it was a friend giving, and I think I was going, I obviously didn't come prepared to talk about those things, but I was kind of at a place in my life where I was like mothering hard, wifing hard, work is hard, like, and I'm like, something's got to give. And my health too was not the greatest. So I am a type 2 diabetic. I was diagnosed in 2010. I was able to maintain and kind of stave off any kind of medication until 2016, at which point I really don't know. Maybe life stress, whatever. I'm not quite sure, but it just became harder and harder for me to control with diet and exercise. And I was also having a really hard time conceiving. So my doctor had put me on insulin right away because my A1C was really, really high. And that was a really hard that came with a whole bunch of things that I wasn't prepared for. But anyway, fast forward to this past October, and yeah, I was just not feeling healthy in my body, healthy in my mind, in my spirit, all the things. And I think I told you, like, I'm also at this funny stage in life where many of us are, where we're having to like parent our parents. And I'm seeing my mom's health go downhill. I'm seeing her not really take the necessary steps to care for her body and her mind, and it was scary to me. And I was like, I think I told you, like, I do not want to be my mom. I don't want to be, and not in a bad way. My mom is a lovely, lovely person, but just health
Yeah.
wise, and where she was, and where I didn't want to be there. So So I had started kind of thinking about those things. And I was also thinking about how can I better my health in lots of different ways. Um, and of course, being, I was overweight. So first thing you often are now hearing all about Ozempic, Manjaro, like all the GLP ones or whatever. And I hadn't really thought about it. And then I started to really seriously think about it. But I had talked to my doctor about what that would mean for me. And one of the things that she had said was, if that's the case, then you really need to like get other things in place because it can't just be the Ozempic. You are at higher risk for losing bone, like muscle mass, bone density, all those things. So there has to be a plan in place. You also have to understand that this is just one piece of your health. Like, and I love my family practitioner for that. She's, very holistically minded. Um, and so I walked away, thinking about that. So then when I was picking your brain, I was just kind of like, okay, like, what does your coaching involve? What do you think I need? What's a good gym? Are there any gyms about with this or that? Or, like, because I do not like working out. I, I will, like I said, I'm competitive. I will do sports, but I do not like working out. And I always said, if it involves running, it doesn't involve me. I had a treadmill that sat in my basement for years, completely unused. In fact, my son started using it to race his Hot Wheel cars on it. Um, like, so I really didn't really know where to start. And that was very like overwhelming and daunting for me to kind of think about like, do I get a gym membership? I've had gym memberships before. I know in my heart of hearts, I'm not going to go. Like, but what are my other options? And that's why I was kind of trying to pick your brain around like, do I have to get a gym membership? Is there other ways that I could like get healthy and work out and learn these things without going that route?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
I loved that you gave me some suggestions, but also really encouraged me to like research, research this, research that, think about what you enjoy, and like had me really thinking about even before we start coaching, you were kind of like, is it that you don't want to move kind of thing, or is it that you like want to exercise, or however it is that that you
Yeah.
said it, but it got me thinking like, yeah, it doesn't have to be all about just going to the gym and
Yeah.
pumping iron.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you were picking my brain too about the injections as well, because you were hemming and hawing as well. And so you and I talked
Yeah,
about that. You talked about your doctor. We had another friend kind of participate in that conversation too. So
yeah.
we're gauging where was I at with that as well.
Yeah, yeah. And how does that kind of fit into, if you had any clients, how did that fit into that? Does it? Is there a place for it? Like, yeah. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
kind of me trying to really make an informed decision, but also one that, was going to fit for me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and we jumped on the first call, right? Just to kind of explore, is the program a good fit? We're a good fit, and are we ready? And the other thing is because we had been friends for so long, we wanted to make sure that there was a division between kind of church and state with those things.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to then, like kind of spill into our friendship. And you're smiling about the call because the call got emotional.
Yeah, the call was it was way more emotional than I thought. Honestly, like I feel like one of my biggest changes outside of just like physically is emotional for this whole process, definitely continuing on. But yeah, definitely I really thought that I just needed like support with learning how to work out and how to like eat healthy, but I had a very, I don't want to say skewed, but I had a very different thought of how that was going to look even after our first call. Like I was committed to it, but I still had a very different view of like how it unfolded, which is a good view. It was a good thing, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think like, yeah.
And I think that's not uncommon where women think it's just about nutrition and exercise. And for the most part, it is. But I've been doing this enough years to know once you get the nutrition and exercise thing, it feels easy. It gets to that automatic state. And then all of a sudden, all these other things, all of these cans of
Hmm.
worms start to open up because now you're making mind emotional connections to it all as
Yeah.
well. And that's the unexpected part is that a lot of women don't realize that's why they can't stick to it. That's why they have a hard time with it. So let's just go through the different components. So, what did you learn about yourself in relationship to food or just overall in terms of nutrition?
So I think I had a very like one track mind. I thought that um, eating healthy really meant having to give up the things that I really enjoyed. I really thought that I would have to do a lot, like an overabundance amount of work. Now, don't get me wrong, it's work. There's work involved. You have to do it. There are some things that I'm like, but I thought it was going to be like really, really, really just bigger than what it was. And I want to say this. I appreciated, and this is one thing I always tell people because obviously people started to notice things in me. So I would share with them, like, I thought that I was going to have to do it all up at once. And I thought that thought to me was so overwhelming because I had so many other things on my plate, mothering, working, wifing. And so the thought to do a complete 180 of my lifestyle was really overwhelming to me. So I'm really glad that when we had our first talk and you were like, "Oh no, like let's work on these things slowly. Let's go through this and work at a pace that is comfortable with you, or for you." On the little things first and kind of building those habits, like that was huge. And that's one thing I always share with people because they're like, "Oh, I can't do all this." And I was like, I thought that same thing, but I didn't have to start knowing it all. And I think, as women, we kind of get that
Yeah.
pressure that we have to know it all, we have to handle it all, we have to whatever, whatever. And that stops us from starting. It did for me for a really long time. So understanding that I don't have to know it all, understanding I don't have to do it all, understanding that it's a process, I can work through it, and there's going to be some ebb and flow, there's going to be some back and forth, there's going to be some take. Like that's one of the huge um, things that I kind of took away from that I take away from that experience for sure.
Yeah. I
Um,
like visualize it like a ladder. It's like, okay, or like a video game, you master level one. It's like, okay, what does level one look like for you? Because it can look different for somebody else. And then it's like, okay, now we leveled number one. Okay, now what does level two look like? And it's not like
mhm.
there's an infinite number of levels, but somewhere in the along the line, we find where our flow or where our rhythm is, right? And so
Yeah,
that's where your rung is, right? Where somebody else's rung can look completely different. Whereas I think that some people approach it with that I need to win the entire game. And it's like,
yeah,
no, it's one level at a time, one level at a time. And when you're looking at the one level, it's all of the components at one level. So it's not just level one is not just nutrition, level two is not just exercise.
yeah,
They're all
yeah,
little bits and pieces of all of it that stack and stack and stack and stack.
yeah. And I was very much um like it's all or nothing. I was very much a black or white. And one thing I learned is that I carried that value not just with food. I carried that value with a lot of other things in my life, with work, with some ideals, with some. I actually didn't realize that I had it so much with food. And so that was definitely like an eye opener of, oh yeah, I really do believe it's all or nothing. And I would rather give nothing and risk, um, give nothing than risk, like doing it and failing. So
Mhm.
I was very, again, competitive, whatever, like afraid to fail. So I really appreciated with the coaching, like that it's not failing, right? Understanding like you're not failing. Understanding again kind of those different levels that like it
Yep.
doesn't have to be all or nothing, because that was yeah, that was very much a fear I had for even starting one more thing because I had done like Jenny Craig, I had done Weight Watchers, I had done like just trying on my own, I had done cutting carbs, I had like, all the things, but I saw those as failures. So I appreciate that it that was very you challenged me a lot on that kind of all or nothing thinking, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Go back. So go back just to understand like the like the pragmatics, I guess. Like, what did you understand a protein that was like, I didn't get that. Like I understood it to be this way, and I was like, no, no, it's this way. I think it's important when, and I'm laughing right now as well. Probably I don't know if it's for the same reason as you are, but I'm laughing because this has been coming up a lot. Is like I'm upping my protein, but nobody has a target. Nobody's tracking. It's just like I'm upping
Yeah.
protein.
So protein, I knew nothing about protein. I'm not going to lie. I really didn't know anything about protein. I knew being a diabetic that, I should have protein, but I had never really understood the craze around protein. So that was a real like uh yeah, enigma to me about the whole protein. I had no clue how much I should have, what, like going into it, I really had no clue. I didn't even know how protein really worked, right? Um, but I was laughing because I also had a lot of things like I thought, oh, okay, I am eating protein. I'm eating beans. Oh, and Cindy let me know that, tomatoes are fruit. They're not vegetables. And so in my head, I kind of knew that, but also knowing like, no, that's not counting as like that's counting as a carb, like or like as a sugar kind of thing, right? Like, um, so I really had some thoughts of like, oh, I had like a teaspoon of, or not even a teaspoon. I had a swipe of peanut butter on my toast, and that was my protein for the day. Like, that's enough. Like, or I had an egg. I mean, oh my Lord, I thought I was doing amazing by eating like one boiled egg a day. I was like, that's great. But then it's like, no, that's not enough fuel for your body. You need more. So I think what I thought were healthy choices, not that they weren't, but they're not as healthy as sometimes the media portrays or other fads portray, but they're also like just kind of and I knew nothing about macros. I knew nothing about those things or even how to go about calculating them, where I should be at, and that's really important to even just reading labels, right? Like I thought I knew how to read labels for carbs because again, being diabetic,
Yeah.
I knew how to calculate that, but I only really paid attention to that when I was pregnant. That's when the doctor really had me on a regimented thing. So I knew carbs, but I didn't pay attention to the rest of the label for fats, for different kinds of fats, for sugars, for sodium, like any of those other
Yeah.
pieces, right? So, yeah, just like creating an awareness in me for that, and especially the serving sizes. So again, like the the protein, I would be like, oh, I had, a swipe of protein on my toast, and that is a portion of protein. Or I had like a half a bottle of salad dressing on my salad, and oh, that's just like barely any fat. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
didn't pay
Yeah.
attention
It's healthy because it's not
before to
oil. Yeah.
those things, right?
The
Yeah.
other thing is, Charisse doesn't like cooking. She doesn't
Oh,
like food prep. So we did go through a
I
phase where you were prepping, right? Because we were
yes.
on a call and you were making your fish and you were doing all of the things. And then
Mhm,
that worked
mhm.
for that season of life, didn't work for a different season of life. So even, we looked at different kind of meal services to make it easier for you, or what was the shortcut, and you didn't want to be cooking different meals for your
Yeah.
family. Just, I think sometimes women get caught in the like, I'm not good at meal prepping, therefore I can't do this thing, or I don't know where to start. So how did you get through all of that?
So I found what I really and it kind of goes together with this. So I'm also a person who loves to sleep. I love to sleep. I love to sleep in. I do not get up early. And so I want to stay in bed for as long as I can, which really cuts down on my like morning routine. It's like our family is up and out the door. So often I didn't eat breakfast either. I would be eating in the car on the way or to work. And so, one of the things I found helpful and I still find helpful is I actually take food to work and I just kind of delegated myself. I bought a basket at the dollar store and I just put food in it um, at work. So, I have some of my like Greek yogurts there. I have some um, whatever, like some salads there. I will sometimes take like lunch meat and I have some bread there. So just so like I could prepare food there as opposed to not eating at all because that's what would happen is I wouldn't prepare anything. I'd run out the door and then I would be grabbing something on the way, either at Tim Hortons or I wouldn't eat until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I
Yeah.
decided, oh my gosh, I'm starving, or my sugar's like completely dropped, um, and I need something fast. So I find that, and then also with some of the like with the kid stuff, because I have two young kids, like planning out and incorporating some of the meals that they really like, that we like as a family, but also I might need to change them a little bit for me. So, for example, like I'll use, yeah, like tacos, for example. Like instead of using sour cream, now I just use plain Greek yogurt, right? Like to get those little pieces in. So it seems so silly, but yeah. Or instead of like automatically making like three tacos for myself, I will eat one at a time and decide like, am I still hungry? Do I need? Whereas before I would make three automatically, I'd sit down and I'd chow on them, right? So just those little things. But coming into kind of so in the beginning,
Mhm.
I didn't know how I was going to do the 10-day um
Yeah,
gut health, yeah, that reboot. But I really had to sit down in the beginning and really plan out my meals for what meals are going to look like. And so I took some of those that went over really well. Basically, when a meal went over well with my family, I just kind of kept it on the back burner and kind of reuse it. Um, that ran into its own thing because then I started to really just eat the same things over and over again. And then that was a new kind of issue Cindy and I had to work through around like, I'm getting bored with these meals. It wasn't even so much meals, it was more protein.
Yeah.
I'm sick of eating chicken. I'm sick of eating fish. I'm sick of eating. And so we had to brainstorm, well, what was I doing? Well, I was kind of getting into the habit of doing the things that were easiest, the things that I thought would like make it so I didn't slip up, right? But at the same time, then I was kind of taking the joy out of eating those foods. And so then we had to go back and really think about let's bring the joy of eating back in and still eat those things, but try eating them differently or try making, preparing them differently, da 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 da. Um,
Yeah. And the other thing we had to
so
work
yeah,
through was your evening snack, just because of your blood sugars as well.
yeah,
So, and it's not just for like, just as an aside, like I have worked with clients who have diabetes, for example, but just in general, some people just sleep better with a snack before bed. So
hmm,
I think it was Oprah who came up with a rule that said you can't eat past 7 o'clock, and then it all caught on because she said
yeah,
it. But really, it's a case by case, and it's like, what
yeah,
are you eating and why is it that you're eating? Are you eating because you're emotional? Well, let's look at that. Are you eating because it's a craving? Well, let's look at that. Are you eating it because it's like it's a function for you to not have a low in the middle of the night? Let's look at that. So we really look
yeah.
at like optimizing your nighttime snack there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and that was actually ended up being huge because another big thing that was happening for me when I was talking about my health and stuff was I wasn't sleeping. I was not having good quality sleep. And we know when you don't have good quality sleep, like you don't function and trying to do all those things. And so one of the reasons why I wasn't having good quality sleep is because I kept going into blood sugar lows. So that would wake me up and then I couldn't fall back asleep, or I was again up and I was panicking trying to get my sugar up. So then I'm downing like a glass of juice, or I just, like whatever. So definitely like once we figured out some good snacks with, like protein or fat, and the carbon got into that, then that helped me be able to like sleep and I stopped seeing the lows at night. I think also this whole time, like I was decreasing my insulin and things. So as I was kind of losing weight, I also had to be decreasing my insulin and figuring out those numbers and those things too, and how much to decrease by and
Yeah.
yada yada yada. So it was lots to kind of figure out and move through.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the version of Charisse that doesn't like exercise.
Hmm. I think okay, so here's the thing. It's like I like moving, which is, what you said. Like, are we going to talk about movement or are we going to talk about exercise, right? So I like movement. I love playing sports. I'm super athletic. I love all those things. I just never could get on board with, going for a run, going to the gym, pump and iron. Like, I don't know why I keep saying pump and iron.
Somebody
Like,
watched too
but
much Wild.
I know I just couldn't get with it. I've never just been that person. Um, I had always liked walking, but walking at one point became a chore. It became the thing again that everyone was, I feel like I had a lot of like just outside influences, external influences. And I don't just mean like friends, family, but I just mean like all the things that we get from the world, right? Around this. It becomes, get 10,000 steps in a day, do this, counter that, da 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 da, blah, 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 right? And I was also like struggling with depression and with other things, and like you don't want to move. I did not want to move. I wanted to do the bare minimum, which really was taking care of my children. So I kind of forgot that I like walking. I forgot that it brings me joy. I forgot that it gives me a chance to step away and to think. So I think, in the beginning, when we started with just walking, that was huge because it reminded me of those kind of little
Yeah.
things. And then I did start to be like, okay, I'm starting to feel better. Let me give this exercise a little bit of a,
I
try.
went out and bought some bands.
So I went out and bought some resistance bands, because another piece was I knew that being on Ozempic, I did not want, to lose my strength. I don't want to lose my strength. So, I was like, okay, I don't want to go to the gym, but the bands, I think I can get behind the bands. And so I bought some. I bought a resistant band bar, and I ended up really liking it in the sense of like I liked the exercises. They were easy. I could take them in different places around my house, and that's really what kind of started. I traded my huge treadmill for a little walking pad. Somebody on Facebook wanted to trade, and I was like, sure. My husband was mad that I, traded that, but the walking pad just seemed better for me because it was something I could put up in my spare room. I could give the kids a bath, walk on it. I could watch a TV, walk on it, like, it was just more portable. So I started with that, and then I got into these bands and I was like, okay, I'm actually feeling a bit stronger, and I liked it because I thought like this isn't too bad. Like I'm getting a sweat on and building some strength, or like, some muscle. And I just really started to enjoy um enjoy
Yeah.
that. Um And so, yeah, do I want to go to the gym? No, no, I don't. But one thing I do want to try, which I've been saying for a while, which I know I need to do because I have not done it yet, is I still do want to try like a Pilates reformer. Um, and I want to try a spin class. Um, but even things like riding my bike. So like before the kids would be like, "Oh, I want to go for a bike ride." And I'm like, I had a bike for like 3 years, didn't sit on it. And then, break out the bike. And I'm like, yeah, let's go for a bike ride. Like I have more stamina to do those
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, yeah, I can, yeah. Hmm.
So let's talk about the point where we got to the end of coaching. So we got to
Mm.
the end of, of coaching.
Which one? Which end?
This is what I'm alluding to. Is
Yeah.
we got to the end of coaching, and then all of a sudden I'm not hearing as much from Charis. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and we jump on our last call. Do you want to just talk? Like we ended up extending coaching for
Yeah.
4 weeks or whatever, but just talk about. I think it's important for women to be because I think women have a really big fear of failure, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's a fear of failure, and then there's also this, you get in a good sprint of things, and then there's this complacency. Now I can do it on my own, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about we were done? Why did we need the extending? What happened there?
Yeah. So I think I like and I go back to I really let fear creep in. And so I was doing so well and I was, making gains and losing weight, gaining strength, stamina, all that stuff. And I knew that my time was coming to an end. And all of a sudden, like some of those fears just creeped back into me. And I really started to think, oh my gosh, I need to do this on my own again. I need to be able to do this on my own. And so I kind of started to ghost into he did like it I stopped sending her my portions, my food, whatever. Kind of would I was a little bit more delayed on my results or my measurements, my progress, that kind of stuff. And I really had it in my mind. I had a few things going through my mind. One, I had a thing going through my mind that I need to show myself. I need to prove to myself that I can do this without coaching. And I really went back into that all or nothing, like all or nothing frame of mind where it's like, I really need to prove this. If I don't prove this, then I'm going to go back to my old habits. Like, it's all going to be all for naught. So I had a really big fear of that. And so that was that. And then I also think it just led me to kind of, that withdrawal. It's kind of like, when you're trying to prove something and then you self-sabotage, I feel like it was almost like that. Like I feel like I was almost like I'm trying to prove that this and this, so but I just end up self-sabotaging instead and letting that fear kind of, take over. Um, and so I know it sounds weird, but that's kind of like where I was at. And I was also like, well, um, also just a fear of disappointing. Like I had a fear because again, you were a friend of mine too. I had a fear of disappointing you. I had a fear of disappointing myself. I had, yeah. So I just feel like that was really hard for me. And I just kind of like, I'm going to break up with you before you break up with me. Like I had that mindset of like, I'm going to get to you before you get to me, but not with you, Cindy, but with like with myself almost
Yeah.
like with all these good things happening like I'm gonna kind of
Yeah.
sabotage them before they could stop happening to me like all of a sudden because coaching was coming to an end it meant that I could no longer do the things like I don't
Well, and
know
I
that I'm
remember us having a
articulating it well.
no, I think you're doing a great job. And I think we had a very lengthy call about kind of that. And then we kind of looked at, okay, well, let's take the deadline off the table. Let's give
Mm,
yourself a bit more time, but let's look at if the goal is to move out of that all or nothing and all of these things are coming up, let's shift our coaching to help address those things for the last 4 weeks to kind of set
yeah.
you up for success. And you finished coaching, what, 2 months ago? No, way longer.
In February.
Yeah. So March, April, May, we're coming up to almost 4 months and things are still going.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's
Yeah.
like, hey, we had an honest conversation about what was going on. Then we were able to change the way we were coaching to address what came up. And we wouldn't have
Yeah.
known that those things came up until that point, right? And then because we gave ourselves that, here we are being able to talk about it 4 months later.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt a lot better ending the second time, I think, because like, yeah, because I didn't so much have that fear. I had given myself a chance to kind of like, yeah, kind of change
Okay.
those thoughts,
Yeah.
those thoughts and distortions and work through them. And also to kind of problem solve when things come up, how to change my habits on my own, if that makes sense. Um, how to make the tweaks that I need, how to keep what I want to keep and kind of maintain what I want to maintain. And yeah, yeah, like how to kind of just work through those things without, again, just giving up on everything,
Yeah.
right? Like,
The old.
and without just having to constantly have you there to be accountable to.
Mhm.
Um, but I definitely needed that uh, in the beginning.
Mhm.
So,
You talk a lot about like, hey, I didn't realize how deeply ingrained the all or nothing was. I didn't realize like there was like this self-sabotage underneath some of that as well. Is there anything else that you feel like that you uncovered about you or learned about yourself? Like at 44, almost 45 years old, what did you uncover?
um, I uncovered that I matter, that I'm worth it, that, my happiness is mine to take, to grab hold of and to create, as well as my health. Um, I'm not going to just like I don't even know if I'm going to use this in the proper way, but like I'm not gonna like poof it into existence. I have to work for it.
Mhm.
And working for it can look different in different seasons,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
Um, I learned that, my spiritual other things that I had kind of give I don't want to say given up on, but that I had also kind of been a little lukewarm on, were really important to my overall health and um how I saw myself, how I interacted with food, um, and with others, and just like, yeah, like, those things, uh, being grateful,
Yeah.
having like a grateful mindset and pulling that in because I think for a long time I had a very much like a deficit mindset, number one. I can't, I can't do, I don't have, I don't know, I will never. This is who I am. This is what it's going to be. I've tried that, been there, done that. Like it was a very deficit mind, right? Like thinking,
Yeah.
as opposed to it can change, it will change, it may look different. It's okay that it looks different. Things are moving forward. Like instead of those things, like which is I think like that's where I really had to shift. And that's where I feel I did, a lot of growth in. Um, and just also again, like knowing that it's okay to want those things for myself, to want health for myself, to want happiness for myself, to, like, um, it's okay. I don't have to give those up. I think one of the things I said to you is I really thought that I would be like, oh, I can't work out because my kids will never leave me alone. And I learned like if I work out, my kids are going to do their own thing. Like it's okay. I don't like,
Yeah.
for some reason I thought like if I sit here on the couch and while they're watching their tablets, then like it's not good if I get up to do something like work out, that's going to stop them from watching their tablets or playing. Or no, they were none the wiser. In fact, they were like, okay, we're going to the basement so mommy can go on her walking pad or do whatever, like, but I had used that as very much like
Yeah.
an excuse, a crutch for you know
Not doing it. Yeah.
yeah, for not doing it.
I'm curious for you, how was all of this connected to your spiritual self?
Oh, well, I think that's just such a loaded question, Cindy. I don't even know if I can articulate that right now, but I think um again, like I really had to rely on I shouldn't say I had to rely on. I should say that I it like brought up more um of how important my spiritual piece was to me and connecting the two, connecting health and well-being to my spirituality and how the two were very intertwined. And I didn't really realize that at first. Um, and how some of the things that I wanted to do, or some of the places I thought I should be or could be or wanted to be, like spiritually, I had the same mindsets of why that wasn't happening as I had as to why I wasn't being healthy physically and emotionally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once I started to see myself getting physically and emotionally more healthy, I'll say more physically, like healthy, then I started to realize this is all intertwined and I can do those things. And I really need to put those things in place here spiritually as well to feel more balanced, right? And to create that
Yeah.
balance. And I think, there were times throughout our journey where like I had my appendix taken out. I had to go into emergency surgery for that. So then I was down for the count for a few weeks. And so in those times, I really focused on like the spiritual piece because I knew like my physical piece wasn't or couldn't be where I needed it or wanted it to be, and that I needed to rest. And part of rest for me was relying on God, was relying on that spiritual piece. Like I find rest in those moments.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was really important. Um, that piece was really important. And I
Yeah.
think as I finished the program, we had more conversations even now moving into, emotionally. And I mean, we had tons going throughout it, but I mean, kind of next steps for me with, continuing on, but even allowing myself to dive even deeper into some more of those emotional pieces. And again, looking, what does that mean for
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Yeah, I am proud that I saw it through. I am proud that I, like you said, show up for myself, even when I didn't want to, even when it was hard. Um, and I'm proud that I like learned to just be like just accepting of, like I said, that it's a process. It is a journey, and it's going to have different seasons and different times. And I think, there are times where I'm like I'm like, oh, I shouldn't eat this, um and try to like make myself feel guilty about that, or I shouldn't say make myself feel guilty. Feelings of guilt come up. But then I realize I'm able to now think to myself, like, but why? Why shouldn't you eat this? Is it that you shouldn't eat it because you're really not hungry? Is it because you shouldn't eat it because it's just there and whatever? Or should you not eat it because you're feeling guilty? And if that's the reason, like, that's not a good enough reason to not eat it. Why do you want to eat it? And
Mhm.
asking myself for that, right? Like, why do you want to eat it? Um, because I would never ask myself that. I would never even think. I like never, ever, ever think. So I think just overall, all the things that I've learned through the program has really just like been implemented in my day-to-day life, understanding that I might have a day where I'm like, no, I'm eating 2 bowls of ice cream because damn well I'm just sad and I want to eat those 2 bowls of
Yeah.
ice cream. But also knowing like that doesn't mean that all my hard work, that doesn't negate all
Yeah.
the hard work
Doesn't
up to
undo
this
it.
point. That
Yeah.
I can recognize, like, yeah, I'm having a day. It's okay. I did that. Okay, tomorrow's another day.
Yeah.
Not even the idea of I'm going to eat this two. I ate those 2 bowls of ice cream, so now I need to hit the walking pattern. Now I need to go exercise for an hour more. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I
Yep.
think sometimes we think that, right? We think
Yep.
like, oh, we ate this chocolate bar, so that means I feel guilty, so now I'm going to keep doing this for another hour. And that's a way we punish ourselves. And I would do that, like, before. So I'm proud that I understand that is like, that's not the thing that has to happen.
I love when my
Yeah.
hard questions of clients then translates into them asking themselves the hard questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
what would you say to the woman who's listening to this and is like, she's in the thick of it. She's going through
Mm.
mental and emotional stuff. She's got the kids that are in that stage where they need them. She's career focused too, and then she sees her health and she sees herself not as a priority, not on the list. She's tried, but she can't get together. What do you say to that woman?
I say, this is a really loaded question. Honestly, I say, like, one, it's okay to need help. Like, you can't you can't do it all. You weren't meant to do it all, even though society tells you, or tells you that you are. Um, and especially like, your health is important, because for all the things that you do with your friends, with your family, with your children, like, if you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna and you may already feel like an empty shell, right? But you can't enjoy it. You'll never have the same joy and fulfillment from those things if you yourself are not feeling well. And I don't mean just physically, but I mean emotionally, mentally, like, so take a chance, um, uh, face the fear, but I don't mean like face the fear and be like tough. I mean, just like take the risk to face the fear. Um, and know that when you do take that risk, like, people are going to be there for you, Coach Cindy. Your loved ones are going to see your progress. They're going to support you in that. They're going to yeah, like, they're going to
It shifts your
yeah, it
perspective,
shifts.
your
Yeah.
lens in which you walk around the world and
Yeah.
view the world, view your relationships, view yourself. It all starts to
Yeah.
shift because
Yeah.
you see yourself as more of a priority versus
Yeah.
just accepting that I'm the scraps.
Yeah. Yeah. You're worth more. You're not scraps, right? And um yeah, just take the risk. And even like the small things, ask questions, do some work. Like, you don't have to have all the answers. Just do it small. And that was, again, one thing I really appreciated about this program, Cindy, is like you really went, you understood where people were, you understood where I was at, and we worked from there. So I wasn't expected to know, to do, to whatever, like things that were outside of my capability. Did that mean you weren't going to challenge me appropriately? No, you definitely challenged me appropriately. Did that mean you weren't going to sometimes be like, Charis, I'm going to ask you a hard question right now? Like, absolutely. But it wasn't in like a, a way that was condemning or demeaning or, and so, if you, for that woman out there, like you matter, it's important, the risk is worth it. Um, the fear is okay and it will shift, and it's okay to ask for help, and just, your journey is going to be different from anyone else's and everyone else's. And yeah,
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Charisse, and sharing.
you're welcome.